Hello friends, I hope you're doing well. As promised, I'm going to do a part 2 of the Carnivorous plant garden, if you want to call them, Carnivorous bog garden tour. And so I hope that you're doing well. Let's get into it. There's a lot to cover. I have to do it early in the morning here because the heat is so hot that it's actually turning my phone off. The heat index was 110 degrees yesterday, so let's get looking at these beautiful, amazing plants. See you in a minute. All right from the start, we have this beautiful Micheliana hybrid Sarracenia, absolutely gorgeous, still putting out plenty of new growth and just looking lovely as always. I gotta cut that flower off, but look at these beautiful, this is the other benefit of doing this early in the morning, is you get these beautiful banana flowers everywhere. Here we have tons and tons of sundews, all covered in dew, and this is what I love. Like I said, I've made in other videos before, I don't know if you've seen them yet, but this is Stelidium debil. It's a carnivorous plant, and it puts out these gorgeous little flowers, and I think I'm going to use it as ground cover because it's just absolutely lovely. They have little tiny stolons, and so while they do spread very quickly, they don't necessarily choke out any of the plants, especially even the smaller ones, which would be a concern, but it doesn't really cause any issues. Let's come over here. This is where the magic is for Banana early in the morning here, before that sun comes out and burns off all the dew. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't it lovely? So beautiful. And then here we've got more Stelidium debil. These weeds, I've been weeding. It's a never stopping process. Look at the Stelidium debil here, looking absolutely gorgeous. And if you've seen or followed my videos, you'll know that it wasn't too long ago that I planted this stuff in the ground, and I told you it would take over in a hurry. So this is a pretty good little sort of quasi time lapse to show you how quickly these things will take over. But they are gorgeous. It will not be long before this entire bog is covered in this beautiful plant. We've got lovely little baby leucophyllus growing in here. This is a Drosera Tracii Bruce, looking absolutely lovely, covered in dew. More beautiful. These are 1-year-old little seedlings growing fantastic here in the bog. Here's the other bog. Now, I don't know if this is a trick that a lot of people do or not, but I purposely plant my rhizomes a little higher than the soil surface, and I do that to this fills up with water, and so I do that in order to allow them to not get into the rhizomes. Now I also want to show something. This is why you need to be, it's not going to hurt the plant, but if it goes long enough, it could cause some issues. You notice, see this mold growing in here. A lot of people get questions about that. That happens a lot in potted plants, especially in very wet conditions. Now that's just at the surface. It's just sort of cosmetic. There's not really any mold going on underneath the surface. But now that I've put it here in this bog, it will start to the sun will start to bake off that mold. But having it in those pots, especially if the pot is the soil level's not level with the pot top, it can cause that to happen, especially in bigger in larger like, see how these are so close together, a lot of that airflow can't get through. So another thing that's really cool to note is these what looks like grass, right? This is actually called blue-eyed grass. It's actually in the iris family, and it's a bog companion plant, and it will have beautiful purple flowers with yellow, I don't know what you call it, cinders that are absolutely gorgeous. So I've got that. I've been really into companion plants lately, so I put that in there. There's also some bog violets in here, which are beautiful white flowers with purple interiors. And then I've also got from California Carnivores a bog orchid that I just put into the ground. Look at this gorgeous little Sarracenia seedling. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that lid. Gosh, that's pretty. And then right next to it you have this really crazy seedling, very small. But the lid is huge compared to the body. Pretty amazing stuff. And you got some Venus flytraps going in here. But again, outside of the Sarracenia, which I planted afterwards, if you'll remember, if you'll remember, the Drosera in here weren't very full, and I told you by the end of the growing season it would be completely full. And as a matter of fact, that's what you're seeing. The reason why I said by the way, this is something that you're gonna deal with if you have these bogs, is that this bog violet was completely out of the soil and on the ground, and that is because little squirrels love to come in here and dig around. Now the way you can get around that is if you get yourself a plastic owl. I have one down on that end, but it looks like I need to get another one for down here. That will keep them from digging up your soil. But it's just one of those things, they like to bury their treasures, and so I don't have that big of a problem with it here, but it is a possibility, so just keep an eye on that. That's interesting. Actually, that might be that's the first plant I've ever seen dug up. Now luckily it was just a iris, and so they can handle anything. But yeah, you got to keep an eye on, because they'll do that to your Venus flytraps. Let's look at it's been a few days. Purpurea is doing great. Oh look, we got a bug in there. I'm sorry, guy. But there's a good example of how that purpurea is going to eat. That bug probably came in for some water and fell in. But absolutely amazing, just beautiful, filling in so nicely. And then we have Sarracenia next to it, absolutely taking off. My plan is here in a couple months to get about 6 or 7 more of these trays, and then have one specifically just for purpurea, one for just Sarracenia, one for filiformis, and just sort of have those all grow in by themselves. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Also, here's another thing to note. So I recently slip potted some Sarracenia, and you'll see here, right, this one did not take well to it. Now I'm not concerned about it, but let's talk about what this is. So some of these plants are just going to get stressed out, and so that's what they are here. And so it killed off all its pitchers, but you can see here that there is new growth growing. And while it looks very sad, it's a sign that this thing is not dead. A lot of people look at the carnivorous plants and they see the top and they start freaking out, but it's the rhizomes underneath that you need to be concerned about, and of course the crown. But here's some more of that mold. See, you'll get that in a lot of really wet conditions if you look in here. Now that would potentially hurt smaller plants, but because this is such a large plant, it'll do just fine. You can buy an like a mold spray, but I'm not too concerned about it, to be honest with you. A couple days here in the Florida heat, it will kill that off pretty dang quickly. This gorgeous Sarracenia, little 1-year-old seedling, looking beautiful. And then we've got a bunch of Drosera, Bonatas, and Filiformis here, looking lovely as always. And then, gosh, look at this beautiful little Sarracenia seedling. Isn't that beautiful? With large Bonata flowers. And then this one, again, if you remember from the old video, is a very rare longifolia. It's known as the pygmy form or bonsai form. Look how tiny those little flowers are, but very gorgeous. You don't see it in cultivation very much, so that is very cool to see. I moved this Venus flytrap and these little Sarracenia pups over here to give them a chance to grow out, so I'm very excited to see that. I need to get in here and do some weeding. But yeah, the plants are looking, look at this gorgeous Venus flytrap. This is known as La Grossa Agigi. Very weird name, but it's a very large cultivar Venus flytrap. Let's take you over here. Some more typicals growing out, doing their thing. Lovely as ever. I need to get in here. Sorry for the terrible camera work. And then here's all my large form cultivars. Look at Bimbo. Good night. Look how beautiful that is. But if you remember, it wasn't too long ago when I put these in, just how tiny they were. That just goes to show you how much energy those rhizomes have in them. Pretty remarkable. Let's take a look now at some more Venus flytraps. This one right here is Kronos, and this looks like this plant's in trouble, but it's not. And let's talk about it. This is a classic sign of sunburn from Venus flytraps. And yes, Venus flytraps want a ton of sunlight, but here in Florida, it has been, well, I think over much of America, if not the world right now with France and everything, the heat is out of control. Our heat index was up to 110 yesterday. And as a result of that, you get these Venus flytraps, especially the larger cultivar forms with the bigger traps. They tend to fry a lot more on the edges. It'll eventually kill off the trap like this, but the plant itself will be perfectly fine. Yeah, that will happen with a lot of your plants here in this really, really strong heat. Here's another fun fact and something that might help you. Notice I have these, well, you can't really tell, but I have my red forms. This is Maroon Monster and Crimson Sawtooth. I have them sort of over the very far corner with a bunch of crap basically there. And the reason why I did that is so that they would be blocked by the sun. So in plant world, green is usually a good reflective material. You find a lot of plants that grow in understories and stuff have red bottoms, Q and Cardi B. That helps absorb the sunlight. You find it in a lot of understory plants. Now these aren't understory plants, but because they have that red, they're going to absorb more light. And so I try to keep them away from full sun, or it will fry them pretty quick. Sorry, my neighbor's dog is going nuts. Probably because some weirdo's making a YouTube video. Here is something that is interesting, and I'm going to make a whole blog about this as well. This is Filiformis floridana. This is as big as it gets, and it grows extremely fast. It was a seed. I didn't even know it was in here only a couple months ago, so it wasn't even a germinated seed, and now it's full grown. And this is a completely self-seeding plant, and so it will continue to produce more. And as you can see, let me see if I can, it is very, very sticky. Pretty crazy, right? And it will produce prolifically. And so I'm also going to get another bog garden just for floridana, because I just love it. And being here in Florida, of course, it grows very well. This bristletooth got itself quite a large meal, as you can see, sticking out. But all these were itty bitty rhizomes, and now they're growing huge. Pretty cool. Well, folks, I'm trying to get you out of the sun. It's only like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning here, and it's already very hot. It's only going to continue to get hotter, but I know we're all dealing with it. But biggest thing with your carnivorous plants is when it gets blazing hot out here, make sure you check the water levels, as it will dry up very quickly. But I hope you enjoyed this low-key, easygoing part 2. Sorry about the dog barking, but they're having fun too. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I'll see you soon.